Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got a great show for you today. We're going to start out talking about the SCOTUS pick. We'll probably, in some form or fashion, be talking about that every day for the next month, probably, right? Some aspect of it, because I'm sure that the left is absolutely going to lose their minds, because it looks like Donald Trump and the Republicans have the votes to push forward with a nomination before Election Day, and we'll get into specifics in just a moment. And then, of course, something I've been telling you for probably years now, but certainly months, about rats convicting rats. Rats just don't like to convict rats. And Donald Trump kind of alluded to this when he said he was very disappointed a couple of days ago at a rally of Republicans because they haven't really investigated the Democratic side of Russiagate and all of that, Obamagate. And so we'll talk about that. There's a little bit of news on that. And then, of course, Second Amendment, man, which you might be in danger of losing your Second Amendment rights if we don't get this judge confirmed and Joe Biden actually puts a Supreme Court justice up there, a SCOTUS pick. Load up if you can. There is ample evidence now that people are buying guns and ammunition in record numbers. And apparently they can't keep the guns loaded enough with bullets. I hate to tell you this, some of you snowflakes out there that are buying your guns for the first time, a lot of old MAGA hat wearing sons of guns have been loaded up for a while. So be careful if you try to take on Trump supporters, because they probably got one or two bullets left in their thing. But we're going to talk about that. But before we go any further, I want to remind you of something that's all about the Second Amendment. John Martin Talks show is definitely all about the Second Amendment. And our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited, otherwise known as BDU, which we're in the BDU studios, grateful to be here. Our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited, is all things Second Amendment. The best way to access that and help out our show at the same time is go to our show description above the video, whether you're watching it live, good morning on Facebook, howdy, how are you guys out there in TV land, or you're watching it recorded at some form or fashion like YouTube. We need more viewers there. Spell it all out, John Martin Talks. We broadcast live on YouTube every morning, and we also archive our show there. But no matter where you're watching the show, if you look at the description, which is above the video, as I say, no matter which medium you're watching it on, you will see in that description a sponsor link. Go to that for 99 cents for the first month, virtually a free trial. Then it's $10 a month after. Cancel at any time, a portion of which, $4 to be exact, goes to helping us spread the word here at John Martin Talks. You click on that, you can become a member of Big Daddy Unlimited, and you get factory direct pricing straight to your doorstep on guns, ammo, tactical gear, any kind of swag, thousands of items. Check it out, Big Daddy Unlimited, in our show description. All right, let's move along here. We're going to use a New York Times story as kind of our template here. Republican senators line up to back Trump on court fight. So Republican senators, and there's a handful of the ones that were kind of in question there about whether or not they were going to support. And most of them have come in online. We're going to give you some specifics on a few of them here as the story unfolds. President Trump appeared to secure enough support on Monday to fill the Supreme Court seat left open by the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, she's supposed to lie in some form or fashion in state. She's going to be in the Supreme Court chambers, as I understand it, I believe starting tomorrow. And then there's for kind of a private viewing. And then there'll be more of a public viewing outside, so to speak. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to work that. And it should last a couple of days. And then Donald Trump, he's given due deference to Justice Ginsburg, which he should. And then after that, he is going to announce his SCOTUS pick. It could be as early as Thursday evening, or as late as Saturday. But sometime between Thursday afternoon and Saturday morning, Donald Trump has pretty much assured us he's going to announce his pick, and then the Mitch McConnell and the Republican Senate have assured us that we're not only going to have a vote, but now they're pretty much saying that we have the votes to actually, they're going to hold hearings, then have a confirmation vote to have a new Supreme Court justice, hopefully before Election Day, and I'll get into the reasons why that needs to happen for sure. But President Trump appeared to secure enough support on Monday to fill the Supreme Court seat left open by the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, although Senate Republicans remained publicly undecided if they would try to force through his nominee before the election or wait until after voters have decided whether to grant him a second term. Now today, Tuesday, they're having what they call the Republican lunch, and I think when they come out of this lunch later this afternoon, you will get a pretty good idea that they have the votes to push this nomination forward. But I'm telling you, in my humble opinion, this confirmation vote needs to take place before the election. I'm going to give you a few reasons why, in not any particular order, but really is number one, I don't trust the Republicans to do it after the election because they may chicken out. Let's say that obviously if President Trump wins, then all that kind of satisfies itself, except we don't know for sure. There is a possibility that President Trump could win the election and the Republicans could lose their majority in the Senate. I don't think that would happen. I think that if Donald Trump wins, they'll not only maintain their majority, perhaps increase it, but they very well could take over the House, which doesn't have anything to do with the nomination process, but it would certainly be a nice thing to happen. But I think the Republicans could chicken out before or after the election, certainly depending on which way it goes. So I think we need to hold their feet to the fire, and they need to give us what they promised us, and that is absolutely pick a Supreme Court judge, which Donald Trump will do. I have no doubt about that. And that the Republicans, I'm more confident every day that they will absolutely do the right thing and confirm this person. But it needs to be before the election. A couple of other things, like Ted Cruz said, and if you go back, we played this tape. We're not going to play it again today, but you remember Hillary Clinton said the other day that Joe Biden shouldn't concede no matter what happens. Of course, if he wins, he doesn't have to concede, but they're anticipating Donald Trump winning, and then they challenge it through the court systems and the mail-in voting and all of that, and trying to steal the election. Skullduggery, I think, is the term that Hillary Clinton actually used. And she should know about that, being kind of the wicked witch and a pirate herself. But they've pretty much let us know in no uncertain terms that Donald Trump is going to be challenged should he win, and there's going to be hell to pay, violence in the streets leading up to Election Day and even after Election Day. And Kamala Harris said that even before all of this Supreme Court stuff came up, that she not only supported the protests, but we need the protests, and they need to continue even after the election, no matter what. So I take these progressives at their word, and you should too. They'll tell you if you listen to them. That's one of my axioms here at John Martin Talks. If you listen to these progressives, you don't have to guess where they stand. They will tell you exactly where they stand. And Ted Cruz is absolutely right. We cannot afford to go into a 4-4 potential tie on the Supreme Court with the Democrats saying that they're going to challenge Donald Trump's reelection should he be successful, and it could come down to the Supreme Court. So that's true. And then another thing is, I really believe that if they wait till after the election, then this just puts wind in the sails of the Democrats, the progressives, saying, hey, we need to defeat Donald Trump, defeat these senators, and secure the pick for ourselves, like Ocasio-Cortez has admitted to. More on her in just a second. But I take them, as I say, at their word. So I believe that not only it's the right thing to do to have the Supreme Court pick, But I believe if we can do it before Election Day, it will absolutely deflate the progressives and help Donald Trump secure the election. I just believe it. And not to mention, it is simply their duty. Promises made, promises kept. It's about time the Republicans kept their promise, and we deserve it. Just like this meme says right here, that if they can impeach Donald Trump during an election year, and they're talking about doing it again, then certainly we can pay them back by having a Supreme Court justice confirmed between now and Election Day. Mr. Trump said he would announce his choice for the seat by Friday or probably Saturday after memorial service for Justice Ginsburg had and pressed his allies to vote before the election, and he's doing the right thing. And what we would be, and this is what the New York Times is saying, in what would be the fastest contested Supreme Court confirmation in modern history. That's really not true. And now the only caveat is contested. That because there have been several other Supreme Court justices confirmed in much less time than the like 40 some odd days we have now. And I'll give you an example. One of the most recent ones was the Chief Justice himself, John Roberts Jr. His nomination confirmation took 19 days. 19 days. So we have plenty of time. He was nominated by George W. Bush on September 6, 2005, and confirmed on September 25th by a vote of 78 to 22. So there was some contesting there. 22, I'm assuming Democrats only, voted against his confirmation. But, looking back on it now, and maybe this is a reason not to have a quick confirmation, but I still say I stand by it. We need to have it before Election Day. But Justice John Roberts, now we see now that he was a wolf in sheep's clothing, or a sheep in wolf's clothing, I guess would be the best way to put it, because he's turned out to be a progressive member, certainly a swing vote at best on the court, which is another reason, by the way, that we have to get a conservative judge on this court because just the fact that we had a 5-4 before Ginsburg, I don't know that we actually did. I think we had a wishy-washy 5-4 at best with Roberts. So, but he was confirmed in 19 days, I think I said? There was another one in the past that was 17 days. And Ginsburg herself was essentially the same amount of time that we have right now when she was confirmed. So this idea that this is unusual is not true. Simply an unprecedented? No. But who cares if it were unprecedented? Donald Trump is an unprecedented president, right? Which is one of the reasons why we voted for the guy. Such a timetable, back to the article. Billy Bob tells me to get back onto the article. If you hadn't met my psychic sidekick, this is Billy Bob Bass. He's got a Twitter handle. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. Another place you can see our video is on Twitter. I'm usually about a day behind getting it up, but we get them archived there. Check us out on Twitter. I'm trying to get more active, and we need more followers there as well. Back to the article. Such a timetable, however, would only, listen to this, this is New York Times, would leave only 38 days for the Senate to act, and as a practical matter, even less time because it's highly unlikely that Republicans would want to vote in the last few days before the election. I don't have a problem with it. I think they should do it by the end of the week before the election, but that's just me. But I don't have a problem with it happening on Monday before the election. Just get her done, as they say. But the last few days before election, in which several of them face serious threats. But I like how they mentioned 38 days. Like that's a short period of time. Only government looks at 38 days and says, oh, wait, we just don't have much time here. I mean, that just shows you a lot about the problem of government, that it takes them 38 days or more to do something. And there's some truth to that, but that's not a very good statement. The president was buoyed after Senators Charles Grassley, the former chair of the, when Kavanaugh was last appointed, of the Judiciary Committee, and now it's Lindsey Graham. But the president was buoyed after Senators Charles Grassley of Iowa and Cory Gardner of Colorado, two of the three remaining Republicans who might have opposed filling the seat, announced they would support moving ahead with the nomination, even though they refused to consider President Barack Obama's nomination, talking about Merrick Garland. A couple of things about that. First of all, Obama did nominate someone during election year, did he not? Merrick Garland. Now, the fact that he didn't get a hearing is certainly falls under the Senate's control, which was Republican, and Mitch McConnell are getting a lot of heat about that, especially in the media, and the Democrats are crying hypocrisy, which I don't care about anyway. I mean, raw power is raw power, but it's really not hypocritical, because if you actually go back and listen to what Mitch McConnell actually said, he said he would not do it when you had a split government, when you had a president of one party and a Senate, which he controlled, of another party. During an election year, he wasn't going to do it. He wasn't going to do it. And he would do it during an election year if both were the same. And it makes sense in the sense that they would be just wasting their time if they weren't going to confirm the guy. It would be a colossal waste of time. So both sides exercise their constitutional duty, responsibility, and power. Obama appointed Merrick Garland, and Mitch McConnell declined to have a hearing on it. But you could argue whether that's right or wrong, but it is certainly constitutional. But this idea also in the media never talks about this. You got to listen to shows like John Martin Talks to even hear anything about this. Have you heard the term Biden rule? Joe Biden, because he served in the U.S. Senate for I think right after he got off the Ark as first mate there, but he had a rule that he came out with that you should not actually have a nomination and a confirmation of a SCOTUS pick during an election year. It was Biden that set that precedent, not Mitch McConnell. But you never hear that, and we'll get more into that in just a moment. But it says in election year 2016, the Biden rule, that's my words, that left only Senator Mitt Romney of Utah considered undecided, but even without him, and we'll talk about him more specific in a moment, it appeared to guarantee at least 50 Republican votes to move ahead, with Vice President Mike Pence being the tiebreaker. So it looks pretty good right now, even if Murkowski and Collins, who have both said that they are, one in Alaska, Murkowski, Collins in a tough re-election process in Maine, which, by the way, she was probably going to lose anyway from a lot of sources I have. But I'm telling you right now, Susan Collins, if you're listening, if you're a friend of her, make sure she hears this. If you do not support the president's pick and confirm that pick, you will lose your re-election bid. There is no doubt about that. Whether or not you're going to win is questionable, but there is no question that if you don't go and do the right thing, you're going to lose. There's no doubt about it. But the Biden rule, I want to play this clip. This is a clip from back when Joe Biden essentially came up with the Biden rule, and I want to know about hypocrisy. This is it right here. And Joe Biden, I remind you, was about as coherent as he possibly could be. I'm not saying he was coherent, but he is as cognizant as he could be during this time. Check it out.
Or within the next several weeks, or resigns at the end of the summer, President Bush should consider following the practice of a majority of his predecessors and not name a nominee until after the November election is completed. The Senate, too, Mr. President, must consider how it would respond to a Supreme Court vacancy that would occur in the full throes of an election year. It is my view that if the president goes the way of Presidents Fillmore and Johnson and presses an election year nomination, the Senate Judiciary Committee should seriously consider not scheduling confirmation hearings on the nomination until after the political campaign season is over.
There you go.
And I sadly predict.
There you go. Listen to what he's saying. So kind of like Kerry, who was a flip-flopper, he was for it before he was against it, before he was for it. So Biden was against having a a president appoint someone to the Supreme Court and the Senate confirm that person, let alone even take it up during a presidential cycle when he was a U.S. senator. But turn around when the roles were reversed, talk about hypocrisy, he was for it when he was VP for Obama, when Obama was did the exact thing that Biden under his rule warned against. And then, of course, now he's again it. So he was again it, he was for it, and now he's again it again. I mean, talk about again. We need to make America great again. That's what we need to do. And it starts with this SCOTUS pick. But let's just talk about Mitt Romney for a second. I kind of alluded to this yesterday, and I'm just going to reiterate it. I believe, and Romney has said now, that after this luncheon today is when he's going to announce whether he supports going forward or not. I don't know that it will necessarily be today, but he said he was going to wait till he met with his Republican colleagues in the Senate today. I believe that Mitt Romney will ultimately support this, not because of any love of Trump. He doesn't. But I think at the end of the day, Mitt Romney can't face the voters in Utah if he doesn't support a conservative judge on the pro-life issue. I just don't see how he ultimately does that. And I actually believe, he went to Black Lives Matter. He's a women's marcher and all that kind of thing. I believe Mitt Romney at the end of the day will do what is in his best interest, because I think he thinks he has an outside shot at running for president again. He certainly wants to stay into the Senate again. There's no question about that. So it's in his best interest to support the Supreme Court nominee. So therefore, I think he will err on the side of himself and do it. I hate predicting too much, but I think he will. Mr. Trump privately met at the White House on Monday with Judge Amy Coney Barrett. He supposedly got it down to 3 people, and Barrett is right at the top of that list. You may recall she was considered the front runner, basically came in second behind Kavanaugh. There was some discussion and pretty much said, okay, we'll have Kavanaugh now. He'll be less controversial. Can imagine that at all now that what we know. And then Amy will be the next one. So there's some, she definitely is at the top of the list. Whether or not it ultimately happens, President Trump, I personally think it's between Ms. Barrett and Ms. I should know her name, Laguna, I think, from Florida, Cuban American that was on the bench from Florida. That might be the political expedient choice. But I think if Donald Trump had his first pick in his heart, I think it would be Amy Coney Barrett. But I believe it's between those two. But he said he met with Ms. Barrett of the United States Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit in Chicago, his front runner and a favorite of anti-abortion conservatives. Make no mistake about this, ladies and gentlemen. This is all about abortion as far as the passion in it. And that's what was all about Kavanaugh. They tried to make it about sex stuff and all that. It really is about abortion. It's unbelievable how far the left has gone on the abortion issue. But I'm not surprised by this, because I've been telling you, another one of my axioms here at John Martin Talks about progressives is they will always take it to the extreme. And abortion is a great example of this. Now, to me, it doesn't matter for the point of this example which side of the abortion issue you're on. I'm just talking about where progressives will take it. They kind of started back with safe, legal, and rare under the Clintons, right? And a lot of people and I was probably one of those people that basically said, this doesn't really affect me. I wasn't thinking about the spirituality of it at that particular time. I do now. Things change. You get a little older, a little wiser. But what really changed my opinion on this was how far the left has taken it. And if you think I'm over dramatizing this, think about it. We're going to show you a video right in just a moment, but think about it in context of this: safe, legal, and rare, to what Governor Northam said in Virginia just about a year or so ago, right here. And this is where the progressives will take it to the absolute extreme. Check it out.
Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I would tell you first thing I would say is this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion.
That's good enough.
But again,
blown out of proportion? I mean, to me, think about what he's actually saying. We're not going to play it again, but go back and look at that and rewatch that portion of the show. The man talks about, first of all, he lies. He flat out lies when he says that this is only about handicapped children, deformed fetuses, that kind of thing. That might be a reason why they should do it. That might be. But the law that he was talking about in Virginia did not exclude people from having abortions all the way up till literally dilated for any reason. And New York codified that, New York's state, and you might remember the video we've shown before of Cuomo and his bunch celebrating like it was New Year's Eve when they got that. The abortion rules that are being pushed out by the hardcore progressive left, which is essentially the Democratic Party, are about, as Rush Limbaugh says, fourth trimester. It is. So this idea, he lied, Northam lied when he said it was limited to that. He kind of didn't really say, but he alluded to that. Then they think about what he's saying. The baby could be born. If it's not breathing, you could bring life to it again, resuscitate it. So the baby then would clearly be outside the mother's womb and breathing on its own. And then we have a discussion as to what to do with it. Isn't it a life? No matter what your definition of life, I don't see how anyone could argue that if a baby is outside the mother's womb and breathing, that it is a life and therefore subject to all rights, privileges of an American citizen at that moment, right? But hey, it's this, I heard this the other day, and I hadn't said it before, but I want to pop it out there because it just popped back in my head. Isn't it interesting how we will spend billions of dollars searching for the most microscopic life potentially on Mars? I think we just had one come out about it maybe on a moon of Venus or something like that, or in the stratosphere of Venus. So we will go to great excitement and expense to find the most microbial existence of the possibility of life outside our solar system. But a baby breathing on its own on the table, don't really care. I mean, it just shows you that we're crazy, man. But if you think that these Democrats won't take things to the extreme, just go back and listen to that tape. Back to the article. Mr. McConnell and other Republicans rationalized taking the opposite position this year, talking about the Biden rule, basically, because their party controls both White House and the Senate. And, of course, Lindsey Graham is being chastised quite a bit about this because he talked about not doing it during an election year, but some things have changed. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and they did you see, and we probably should have played it, where they went to Lindsey Graham. They went to McConnell's house protesting, but Lindsey Graham's house protesting. No Democrat leader that I've seen actually condemns this. They cheer it on, man. But the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, talking about Lindsey Graham, that will consider the president's nomination, had vowed repeatedly not to support confirming any selection by Mr. Trump in an election year in keeping with the 2016 decision, only to flip-flop this weekend. That's probably true. And if true, maybe there's a reason. First of all, I think Lindsey Graham, if you go back and look at the Kavanaugh hearings, because he was on the Judiciary Committee, he was literally almost in tears talking about how they treated Kavanaugh. I've never been a huge fan of Lindsey Graham. We're going to talk about him again in just a moment, our next story. But I have to admit that I think he showed a lot of strength in that Kavanaugh hearing, and I do believe it had an impact on how he looked at the Democratic Party and what they're capable of. And then Biden, of course, Joe Biden came out the other day. Did you see where he couldn't even say the Pledge of Allegiance yesterday? That's another story. But Biden came out and accused President Trump of using raw political power if he goes forward this nomination. Let me just tell you, sir, I don't have any question. It is raw political power. It's absolutely raw political power. Nominating a Supreme Court judge is by its nature, and the Democrats kind of started this, raw political power. It essentially has always been that way. What is the purpose of having power if you don't exercise it? Let me tell you, you want to see raw political power and what they're going to do to us? They're going to be punishing people like you and me that supported President Trump. They'll be hunting us down, man. I mean, if Biden and the Democrats get full power, what do you think they're going to do? They impeach the president for nothing, and they're talking about impeaching him again right now. You talk about raw political power. I mean, but who gave President Trump his raw political power? Who gave Mitch McConnell a majority and even increased it the last time they voted? Who did that, by the way? The American people. The American people voted the two entities that have control over a SCOTUS pick were voted on. The people spoke in the last two elections. Number one, they elected Donald Trump, who made Supreme Court picks a big deal for his election. And then, of course, Mitch McConnell and him started almost from day one, and they've been bragging about it from day one, putting federal conservative judges on the federal bench for 2 years leading up to the 2018 midterms, right? So it was pretty clear what they were up to. And what did the American people, in spite of what they call the blue wave, they increased the majority in the U.S. Senate for the Republicans. So the two entities that are in charge of SCOTUS picks, the people have already spoken twice, Mr. Biden. In a letter to Democrats on Monday, Mr. Graham, talking about the new chair of the Judiciary Committee, Lindsey Graham, made no attempt to argue, this is according to the Times article, that he was being consistent or following a nonpartisan principle, but instead said he reversed himself in retaliation. So he admits retaliation for the Democrats' treatment of Justice Brett Kavanaugh when he was confirmed in 2018, and because Republicans have the power to proceed. Amen. Lindsey said, I am certain if the shoe were on the other foot, you would do the same, he wrote. Is there any doubt about that? How long do you think it would take the Democrats to approve a judge if the situations were reversed? A day, a week at most? Certainly 38 days would be more than enough time. You know what's going to be interesting if they go forward this, and I believe they will, and they're going to pick a woman. President Trump has made that fairly clear. Are the Democrats going to attack that woman candidate the same way they attacked Kavanaugh? Because they're going to be desperate. It's going to be really interesting to see how they attack a woman. Are they going to say men, that she sexually abused men, or will they make it a lesbian thing? Because they're going to try to do sex baby. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. Keep in mind that, like, Ms. Barrett and the lady from Florida, they've already gone through a pretty heavy vetting process to get where they are on the federal bench at this point. So there shouldn't be a lot of new stuff, but of course there will be stuff come out of the woodwork on this no matter what. They made up what is her name? Blasey, whatever her name, Blowhard or whatever. So these names all just go in my head. Senator Chuck Schumer of New York, old Chucky, the Democratic leader, excoriated Republicans for what he called a brazen power play. I'm with you. It is brazen. Amen. I'm for it. One of the reasons why we voted for Donald Trump, sir, is because he's brazen and bold. And but Schumer said to try and decide this at this late moment is despicable. Well, we would have done it sooner had she died before. I mean, don't blame Republicans for this. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died late. What can you say? I mean, you see, there actually people say, well, how couldn't she have just hung on till 2021? Ginsburg should have been allowed to retire under Obama if you wanted to hold on to that seat. But you guys tortured that lady and would not let her resign. And this whole thing about, oh, it's her dying wish. First of all, I heard somebody say, well, President Trump's accusing her of lying on her dying wish, which is ludicrous. The woman's dead. She can't lie after she's dead. She may be able to vote after she's dead, but she can't lie after she's dead. And the whole thing is totally irrelevant because it's not in the Constitution that a person gets their dying wish. It's totally irrelevant. It may be a cute story, but it's not relevant story whatsoever. But says Senator Chuck Schumer said, he said to try and decide this at this late moment is despicable and wrong against democracy. So Democrats are the saviors of democracy. These people that wanted to impeach President Trump during election year in closed door sessions in the dungeon where he couldn't even see his accusers of the Capitol building are saving democracy. The duly elected president. I want to play you an oldie but a goodie. This was Ocasio-Cortez talking about one of the reasons why they needed to impeach President Trump. And her, man, it wasn't because he was guilty until he's presumed, that he's got to prove his innocence, which they were for. It wasn't that he didn't get to view his accusers and all that. It was to prevent future crime. Check it out.
Congressional delegations, or rather in foreign trips. I think that all of this is game for investigation, but we also need to move quite quickly because we're talking about the potential compromise of the 2020 elections. And so this is not just about something that has occurred. This is about preventing a potentially disastrous outcome from occurring next year.
So they want to prevent the dude from running for re-election. Future crime, man. I mean, you talk about brazen and bold and power to actually get on TV and say we need to impeach the president, the duly elected president of the United States of America based on what he might do in the future is the craziest. I mean, it doesn't get any crazier than that. Think about that, man. If we change our legal system to Minority Report, like that Tom Cruise movie where you get arrested for what you're thinking about doing or what you might do. I mean, good Lord, it's bad enough that they say you got to prove you're innocent to the state with the Kavanaugh hearings. It's just crazy. These people, they will take it to the extreme, I'm telling you. But Ben Franklin, man, old Benny, he said that when asked about this is a great meme here, when he asked about what they gave us, he said a republic if we can keep it, if you can keep it. And those words are ringing truer by the day. It is up to us to keep this thing because the Democrats say they want to save democracy by destroying the republic. Senator Roy Blunt, this is one of the Republican senators. Senators. Sorry, I didn't mean to label that on. We're all senators, sir. Don't worry. Senator Roy Blunt of Missouri, a member of Mr. McConnell's leadership team, said confirming a new justice by November 3rd, they need to do it a little quicker now, by the way, would set the new recent world record. As I told you, Roberts was confirmed in what? I think it was 19 days, I said. I can go back and look at that, but it was way less than the time here. So they're spouting off untruths. He said the new recent world record, we'd have to do, listen, this is a statement from a Republican. It could be from any of them. I don't mean to pick on him too much. But this statement, this next statement he makes, kind of shows you everything that's wrong with the swamp right now. He said we'd have to do more than we've done in a long time to get one done that quickly, but it's possible. More than we've done in a long time. He's true. It's a, excuse me. See, I get choked up on that. It's a sad but true statement, which brings us kind of to our next story. But before we, I'm laughing because I'm going to play you a video. Before we get into our next story, I got to play this short clip from President Trump a couple of days ago at a rally talking about Biden, because I got to tell you, when I heard him say this, I literally fell out the chair laughing. So hold on, because this is pretty funny. And it so far is the video of the year. Check it out.
said, he has no idea where he is, but I would never say it. I won't say it. I refuse to say it. No, but don't underestimate him. Look, he's been doing this for 47 years. And I got a debate coming up with this guy. No, it's true. You never know. You never know. They give him a big fat shot in the ass, and he comes out.
That's it right there.
And for
That's
2 hours,
give him a big fat shot in the ass, and he comes out and goes, "Hey!" I'm sorry, man. I know some people hate the president for that, but I love it. I don't know about you. Chime in on Facebook. Tell me, whatever site you're on YouTube, tell me what you think about it. Good morning to everybody on America's Voice News. That's another great way to watch our show, and a Trump rally, by the way, is check out America's Voice News. We're broadcast live on their Facebook every morning at 8 o'clock. We're rebroadcast on their streaming service as a late night show. Check them out. You can download a free app on your Apple, your Android phone. You can watch it over Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV. We're streaming on Pluto Network. And if you have Dish Network, you can check out John Martin Talks. We're satellite universal, man. There may be ancient aliens watching us right now. You know, the reason why they hadn't come back, if that's true, is would you come back if you could get away? I don't know, but to me, they shot him. I love President Trump. I'm telling you, I got a man crush on him. All right, we're going to move on in the few minutes we have left with our next story, and that is about this idea of the rats convicting the rats. This is a Politico story. Trump said, "I'm so angry at Republicans." He said this at one of his rallies. President Donald Trump said Monday he was furious with Republicans in Washington for not doing enough to take up his unsubstantiated, that's their words, claims about former Obama administration officials and Hunter Biden. Unsubstantiated. Is there really any doubt about this? I mean, unsubstantiated. The thing that was unsubstantiated was all the Russia BS and the Mueller report. Remember, one of the key findings in the Mueller report is that when it came to Russian collusion, which was the main thing supposed to be about the investigation, Mueller said both at his press conference, in the report, and in his testimony before Congress that no American, last time I checked, Donald Trump was not only still your president, but he is an American citizen, whether you like it or not. And Mueller said there were no American colluded with Russia. The investigation should have ended right there. But of course, no. Does anything happen? Nothing happens, Trump said at an event in Dayton, Ohio. "I'm so angry at Republicans. I am so angry." This is the president's words. "I am so angry, but a lot of things are happening." Let me just tell you, the problem, and I feel your pain, sir, but the problem is the rats will never convict the rats. You got to make me believe this, because think about this. The people that he's mad at have been there longer than he is, will probably be there after he's there, no matter whether he gets reelected or not. And the rats just don't like to convict the rats because they're worried about it when it's their turn. That's just the way I am. I believe it. I'll believe all this when I see it. I'm hoping we get the perp walk. We'll talk about that in a minute. For months, Trump has tried to spur sweeping investigations into President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden over insinuations about the FBI surveillance of Trump campaign associates that he dubbed Obamagate. Insinuations? There is no doubt that they spied on Trump. That has been pretty much proven without a shadow of a doubt. No one even denies that they were basically eavesdropping on the Trump administration. There's just no question about it. Those calls had largely gone unheeded by Republicans who control the Senate until they nabbed a foothold recently after the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, and Mr. Johnson, I think, chairs that, voted to authorize more than 36 subpoenas. I know a lot of people are celebrating that, and depositions to compel testimony from former FBI Director James Comey and others. I am with you. I'm with you out there. I want to see the perp walks. I want to see the coats over their head and the cuffs behind them. I want to see it. I just don't believe it's going to happen until you make me a believer. I hope I am wrong. I would love to do a show saying, hey, like Fonzie, I was wrong. We got these people behind bars. Trump went on to say, they spied on my campaign and we caught them. Now, he said, let's now see what happens. So the president is on this. The president claimed that he is trying like hell to stay out of the investigation, and I think he is, his political enemies ahead of a highly contentious election. Trump said of the investigations, I don't have to actually get involved, but it's better if I do. I think I'm trying to stay out of it, but it's a disgrace that it's taken this long. Amen, President Trump. Spot on. Yes, it is a disgrace. Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson has been teasing a forthcoming report detailing allegations against the Bidens with a focus on Hunter Biden's work for the Ukraine Energy Burisma company, and which should be released sometime this month. Democrats have decried the Senate committee's investigation as a fishing expedition intended to damage Biden's presidential bid. I think he's doing a good job of that himself. And said that Johnson's probes, that's the committee chair, are echoing false claims seeded by a Russian disinformation project, a charge that the Wisconsin Republican has rebuffed as a coordinated smear. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Biden admitted that he interfered in Ukraine and the Russians and all that. We've played this before, but I guess we got to replay it again. You won't see this on CNN very often, if at all. Check it out.
Corruption. They made, I'll give you one concrete example. But it just happened to be that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones. So I got Ukraine. And I remember going over convincing our team, or others, to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to the press conference. I said, no, I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And
there you
they
go.
put in place.
Well, we're pretty much out of time. I wanted to play you this Comey video. We'll play it at another time. It's pretty interesting. But there you go. I mean, Biden admitted right there on camera more than anything that Donald Trump was even accused of, let alone impeached for. I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Please go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook page. Like it, share it with others. Remember, BDU, Big Daddy Unlimited. Check out our sponsorship link in the description of our show for all things Second Amendment. I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. But above all else, let's all pray for this great nation. And as I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day.